Hey everyone, it's your girl, HappySoCurly, and today we will continue the series of Zodiac signs ASMR style with the Gemini. Now, before I start every video, I always mention this. Yes, it's fun, it's cute, and it's scientifically interesting discussing the zodiac signs and how they relate upon characters. However, I don't want anyone taking this information as used to judge someone based off of their zodiac sign, when we should not make inferences on people's capabilities based off of when they were born and what time, but rather what they do and what they bring into the world. If you study the zodiac signs, you'll know that every sign has a positive and negative connotation, and not one is better or worse than the other. So as you take this information, please keep that in mind, and I hope you enjoy this video. This video is for people who, are kind of confused about the zodiac signs and the different characteristics. And I just want us to learn more about these signs. That way, whenever we deal with someone with these same characteristics, we know in which way we can handle the situation and ultimately just make a better community. So without further ado, let's get started. So if you don't know, I take my information, I've always researched it since I was in high school, but I take my basic information reading off of a website, and I pretty much just use it as a blueprint of what I already know, just in case I miss some things. Alright, let's start. So the element associated with the zodiac sign Gemini is air. If you don't know, fire, earth, air, and water in that order is the elements of all the zodiac signs. Its quality is mutable, which means that it ends the season. Cardinal, fixed, and mutable are all the qualities. Cardinal starting the season, fixed is moving the season on, and then mutable is ending it. So the color that's associated with Gemini, it's usually a yellow green or a greenish yellow. I'm not sure what the right term is for that color, but I guess I would just say light green. And the planet that it rules is Mercury. So of course the compatibilities are within each element, so whatever the air signs are, they're compatible with each other, which is typically Aquarius. The air signs is Aquarius, of course Gemini, and Libra. And these signs are usually always compatible with each other. That includes the earth signs, the fire signs, all the signs within each element. But the greatest compatibilities are usually Sagittarius and Aquarius, I think. And another one I just can't remember right now. But with Gemini, that's usually the one. The date range is May 21st to June 21st. Some people might say the 20th, others might say the 22nd. Usually those who are born are in the cusp of being a Gemini and a Cancer. So usually those are the mystery dates, and those are with the most mixed characters. Okay, so let's start with the weaknesses first, like I always do, just because I want to end off with a good note and not a bad note, as if like I want you to think that this sign sucks. So let's get started with that. So I'll say like the weaknesses, or like one of the biggest weaknesses, is being inconsistent. And that's usually what happens with a lot of the air signs, because they're so intelligent and so creative that their character just doesn't stay in one place. Like they're not like they're not like the earth signs, in which where the earth signs are like more grounded and rational, and they know how to control. But with the air signs, most of them are, there's inconsistency and decisiveness, and it may come off as them being like very irresponsible, or like they can't own up to what they promised. But they're still very, very intelligent in those means. Another weakness, which is kind of like a stereotypical one, is that like a lot of Geminis are fake and two-faced. And I mean, I'm not saying no one has ran across someone who isn't fake, but I don't think that should be associated with the Gemini mainly. Just because the Gemini is very social and is able to please a lot of people and make a lot of people like them. And they're not usually doing it because they're trying to get your secrets or trying to be fake. Like, it's just them being social butterflies, kind of like the average movies think that all cheerleaders are fake, and all the popular children and kids are like super jerks and don't deserve friends. And that's not true. Like, sometimes people who are very popular are actually just really good people. So that misconception about the Gemini should, honestly, I just wish it wouldn't exist. I wish we would just know that they're just fake people, and not that Geminis are fake people. Like, it's just silly to me. Like, when I joke about it, but I never truly mean it. Like, it's ridiculous to think that. But yeah, that's like one of the main things, is they come across as being very I would say grasping. And I know it's not really a big weakness, but it's almost like the characteristic of them being very intelligent and very social, is them not wanting to be alone. That's the main thing. Like, Geminis don't like being alone or left out. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with being afraid of being alone. Another weakness is like not being able to, I would say, like not being able to be within themselves. And it's kind of the same thing as, or the explanation is like them not wanting to be alone. So it's hard for them to make something for themselves by themselves, because they're so used to others being around in that type of environment and thriving in that type of environment. So if a Gemini were like the last person on Earth, more than likely they would go crazy, based off of the characteristics. Or anyone, I guess, who's afraid of being alone. That's like one of the things, is that they're not able to confine within themselves. Okay, and that's pretty much it for the weaknesses. It's not that the Gemini doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. It's just, the weaknesses are surrounded by their social ability. And that's why there's not like a lot of it or a lot of variance, because that's the main thing, to be honest. Okay, so let's talk about their strengths or the positives. So again, they're very, very social. They're not afraid to get out there and get to know people, and they love getting to know new people and getting to know new things. Just like with the Aries, they're very adventurous. And they're very, 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 very energetic. Energetic with those social skills. And a lot of people like to think it's like ADHD type effect and ADD, and it's just like associating that with that. It's kind of true. Like, people say, oh, Geminis are attention whores, but it's not like a bad thing. Like, it's not like they're doing it to benefit or like to hurt someone's feelings. Sometimes, or I guess based on the characteristics, it's just to be affectionate, to want to help people. And they're very curious too. So of course the air signs, all of them are curious and very intuitive. And their curiosity is what makes them creative, like able to do different things. And even though they're indecisive with it, it's always going to be something new. So if you're an adventurous person, get you a Gemini. If you're an intuitive person, get you a Gemini. And they have great abilities to learn quick as well. I forgot to mention that within the curiosity. Their ability to like learn quick things is what makes them very powerful in like academics. And a lot, like I said, a lot of the air signs are super smart. But sometimes, the curiosity gets the best of them. But at the end of the day, their intelligence is so high and so, I guess, like, awesome, to be honest, that it's it might come off as them being, a smart ass, but it's them being, who they are, smart. So just keep that in mind. Okay, and that's pretty much all the positives and negatives that I can think of, and from what I'm reading. Just because, like I said, the Gemini, even though they're very extraordinary, their characteristics are pretty simple and pretty easy to understand. I know a lot of people, this is the sign where they know the most about when I ask, and I see why, because like this is a characteristic, like we're in the world where people have to be social, and we have social media, we have people who are extraordinary in academics, we talk about it a lot, and I understand like how this is like an easy one to understand and grasp, and that's good, but I think the problem is with us trying to deal with that. And so let's get on to that portion of the series in which we talk about what's the best way to deal with someone who is a Gemini or someone who just has these characteristics. So I feel like with every sign, you should just not try to change them. I know I say that every time, but it's just true. Like, you just have to be able to understand that people with characteristics in general, usually they're not going to change unless you hurt them to change it, and you don't want that. But with the Gemini, I would just say don't leave them alone. Like, if you're angry with them or you feel like they hurt you in a way, just talk about it. Like, they're smart enough to understand, and just don't be the type where you ignore them, or because like me personally, I don't like being ignored either. So I can imagine someone who doesn't like being alone, being ignored, and feeling as though like something's wrong with them. So I think that's just the biggest takeaway. There's nothing else I can really say besides that. The Gemini is an extraordinary sign, and I just wish people wouldn't criticize them as being fake and attention whore and all this stuff. Like, it's just ridiculous. So pretty much that's all I have for y'all, and I hope you enjoy this. And I'm just gonna read off the positive characteristics, and like I said, the Gemini is extraordinary, and just don't judge, and try to understand them as much as possible before you make an opinion. Okay, so let's get started, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Gentle, 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 affectionate, 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 curious, 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 adaptable, 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 creative, 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 social, 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 social. Thank you guys for listening. See you in the next one.